Hello, namaste. My name's Travis, and it's a pleasure to be with you again today. This practice is a yin class, which includes the use of props. So I've got a rolled up blanket here that's created a bolster for me. If you don't own one, follow that instruction that I've popped up in a very short video. Otherwise, I've got my handy bolster here, which is really quite thick. They're very dense. They're very heavy. They're a little immovable. And that's why they are so good for yin, because they represent all of the energy of yin, that concept of density, grounding, immovability, the bones of the body, the heaviness. So we're really kind of resting into the field of gravity. So as this is week 2, the idea is about maintaining momentum. And so what I'm going to use in our practice today is to target an area of our body, our shoulders, where a lot of us, get a little immobile because of things like typing, reading, scrolling, etc. And that's a natural occurrence in our bodies as the forces of gravity bear down on us anyway. When you get home from a busy day, you don't sort of walk in the door going, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, I've had a shocker of a day. You actually feel that sense of folding inwards, of closing inwards, right? So there's this sense that we do this naturally. It's also a stress response. It's also a response to fatigue. So we'll use our bolsters to help expand and allow the connective tissues to create the momentum, the spaciousness to continue to move forward in the direction of more. So we'll begin first of all by finding a comfortable seat, probably on a prop. So I'm going to find one of my blocks and I'm going to place it underneath my buttocks. And whether it's a cross leg for you or it's something deeper into a more yogic posture, or more like you'd find kindergarten students in their school, I don't mind, just find that now. But that little bit of elevation can be super helpful for some of us, certainly for me. Whether you own a yoga strap, that's wonderful. If not, it's totally fine. Grab yourself a belt. A belt will do as well. With yoga straps, they have buckles that jingle and jangle as you're moving around. So I'm just going to thread my strap through to help reduce that noise. And once I've done that, I've got a length here that allows for a little bit of texturization of our shoulders. So as you take it out in front of you, lift the belt strap combination up. Now, I've hooked my thumbs through there because I can. You can simply hold your belt or strap. I have very mobile shoulders, so I don't need a great distance here, but already you might have noticed, wow, I can't hold the strap as closely as Travis does. So what I would recommend you do is right now, you just slide your hands along the belt or the strap until you find something that gives you that sensation that I've spoken about before. We're not looking for a 10, we're not looking for a 0, but we are looking for something around 6, 7, that kind of area. And so I just start to expand the chest as I take the strap behind the head, so further back. It's not behind my head, it's just, in the line of the body and the anatomy, it's behind the head now. I just take a few breaths, and I'm actually really interested in more self-inquiry here. I'm just kind of bending side to side, and I'm observing little areas that are a little sticky. I'm just thinking I might just linger there a little longer. And now just starting to move the strap forward and back over the head. And I'm also just moving my head. Again, it's your body, your neck, your arms, your shoulders. Find something that feels like it's creating quite a bit of abundance and some sensitivity and sensation that kind of creates some curiosity in your body. And just for a few more moments, a little bit of self-inquiry. And this is a little bit like a posture we do in our more active yoga classes called Ego Conqueror. By holding our arms up, we're creating a little bit of a drainage of the fluids, but we're also engaging the shoulders, and in the shoulders we carry quite a bit. You know that expression? I carry the weight of the world on my shoulders. Well, yeah, some of us do. So certainly you can feel here that warmth we're creating, which is going to help as we start to find some postures a little later on that are restorative. So I'm going to lower the strap down, and in order to continue on, I'm going to expand it out even further. So I'm going to let it unclasp here. And take the strap now longer than I had it before, because it was just really quite a warm up. And if you are using a buckle, I normally hold the buckle so it doesn't jangle. Arms out wide, further, it's out in front of us now. And we lift up and we slip over the head with the strap, and we drop down the back. And then we notice maybe the strap comes to touch the lower back or somewhere around there. And we can just notice there's a little bit more of a tug on some of those tissues. And we lift it back up and overhead and in front of us. So it's back and forth now. So it's your body, your experience, your pace. And some of you may be saying, well, hang on, he's going way further back than I can. It's really about the mobility of your shoulders and what you can manage. So some of you might be here just going, oh, this is enough. And that is really enough, right? But for me, it's much more available for me to go all the way around. And then I start to create like rowing of a boat, and I think it's more like a dragon boat here. So you've got those big oars going in and out up the water. You can even start to move the torso a little. And then reverse that direction. That feels so good. Lovely. And then we'll take our strap and now place it off to one side. I'm not sure we'll use it again, so it can just be put away for the moment, but have it handy in case. Cactus your arms, expand the chest, inhale, breath, and then exhale, thumbs in, wrap the fingers around the thumbs, elbows and forearms come to touch if possible, and you hug in. Inhale, opens you up, fingers wide, palms spread, exhale, thumbs in, wrap the fingers and elbows towards the groin. We've got 10 more. And the last few here. Last one, elbows in, just round yourself for a moment, hug in, give yourself, in fact, slide the hands up to the opposite shoulders and give yourself an embrace, a hug. And then as you come upright, take your left hand to your right knee, your right hand behind you, and twist around to the right. And then take another breath there, and then come back through your center. If it feels appropriate to you, could uncross and recross your legs just to give that little bit of change as you take your right hand to left knee, left hand behind you, and just taking that lovely little twist. And then as you come back through your center, let's prepare to find our first posture. We'll be lying down on our bolster. So I'm going to take the block out in front of me. So if you're using your rolled up blanket combination, it'll run along your mat, parallel with the long edges of your mat. If you've got other pillows and cushions, you could grab them as well. I'm going to show you the setup. So for example, if you own blocks, you'd have a block underneath one end of the blanket and then the other end doesn't have a block, and you'd be lying down along your blanket combination and allowing yourself just to rest into the field of gravity. With the legs, you can step the feet nice and wide, drop the knees into center. Now that feels really good, but the intention here is to open up the chest and expand the arms out. So elevating a little more would be great. So if you did own something else to lift up a little higher, making this higher experience around the chest. So that little bit of elevation now is going to allow me a bigger expansion as I take my arms out wide. Sorry about all the explanation there, but since we're all working with different props, it's worth just taking a moment, because I will give us 5 minutes here. Some other things to think about as well is my sacrum and lower back are on the cushioning, the rolled up blanket or the bolster. They're not on the mat. So, think about the whole spine, the sacrum, the lower back, all being supported by that cushioning. The back of the head as well. It's not just lowered off the back, rolled off the top and sort of compromising the neck. I'm supportive. So just remember that in Yin, you're very much worth it to find whatever you need to support you, to be creative. And then just start to notice now, with the arms out wide, that space across the front of the chest. Maybe start to notice as well if there's areas in your body where you're tensing, you're gripping. I just noticed my legs were, for some reason, quite active around the thigh bones, and since they've dropped into center by the knees, they're very supported, so I could turn that all off. But that's the self-inquiry that Yin gives us time for. To take a scan of the body from the soles of the feet through to the crown of the head and just be a witness to where there's tension. And through the magic of the web of your nerves, you can start to visualize that gentle release of that tension, and just notice how that is possible and capable through the magic of your nervous system. It's interesting to note now that I elected to use my blanket combinations, because for you at home it's also a little difficult when the instructor is able to find all of the props, because we've gathered them up over all the years of our practice. But at home it's not easy to find what looks like a bolster with that density and that kind of heaviness to it. And they're surprisingly not cheap either. So it's very unlikely you own one at home, and therefore I'm prepared to come with you in this journey in a similar respect to the props we'll be using. If you haven't already, and it is okay in your practice, close down your eyes. See if you can notice any imbalances here, any more or less tension on one side of your body to the other. The self-inquiry questions you might ask yourself is like, am I right-handed or left-handed? Am I right side dominant or left side dominant? For me, it's been a journey of acceptance that my left shoulder, which I think was injured in an overreaching kind of weight-bearing situation many years ago. The rotator cuff musculature and the depth of the joint make shoulder injuries quite common. So there's always been, for as long as I can remember, a certain degree of immobility in that side in comparison to my much more dominant, much stronger right arm and my right side. It goes to almost everything we do. Reflect on when you clean your house, your bathroom, etc. You know, if you're right hand dominant, it's going to hold the vacuum. It's going to scrub the bath. It's going to brush your teeth. And the experience of yoga off the mat is being an observer to those moments and going, okay, hang on, I can just as easily vacuum with my left arm. And it's going to be so much more beneficial for me because it's going to create a bit more harmony and balance. And the origins of the yoga practice is unite, to yoke, to harmonize. The complex angles that the shoulder joint has to take to clean a bath or a delicate object, to rotate in the kitchen and reach for a high cupboard to get the pasta sauce down. You know, we're an autopilot all the time. We always do the same arm or the same movement. Well, the encouragement here is to maintain momentum, but via different channels, different movements. Just taking a final couple of breaths here. Lovely long hold to settle us in. And just to come out of this, keep the legs as they are. Stay on the bolster combination or blocks, whatever you have underneath you. And all I'm asking you to do is lifting your arms up and kind of crossing them in front of you and then embracing yourself as they come around to the sides of the body, and then you'll notice which arm crossed on the top. So take it back over, lower them back down, and then just do it in the opposite direction, just to warm back up the shoulders. And then just let them drape out, and we'll roll off onto our favorite side in a fetal position, giving ourselves a nice big cuddle and hug here, rounding and chin into chest. And then sweeping up into a seat to prepare for our next posture. We'll be on our tummies this time. Rotate the bolster or your rolled up blanket now to run parallel with the short edge of your mat. I'm still keeping my block underneath, and remember at home a block is substituted for a book, and I'm actually going to place both of them underneath there, giving me a little bit more elevation. It's about 10 centimeters or 15 centimeters off the ground. The location I want to find the bolster now is the lower ribs, so the lower part, the bra strap. Really want to give ourselves some space where the chest and all the tissues there are not resting and compressing down on our bolster. We're going to find Sphinx pose. So slide the combination a little closer. So we'll shift ourselves to a tabletop position, start to lower ourselves down so that we find that lower rib, and placing our forearms down on the mat in front of us with the palms down. I've just started to shimmy and shuffle my feet wider at the back of the mat, giving myself a little more space in the low back. And also here, it's a reminder that yin isn't all about just melting and letting go of the body. It's actually about targeted activation of parts of the body so that other parts can be offered some release. So here, a little bit of activity in the legs. So a little bit of toning of the muscles can help take any pinching out of the lower back, if that's what you're experiencing. If the combination of the supportive materials underneath you is too much, it's too elevated, just find a different variation. As I've said, you've got time. This one is probably about 3 minutes because we'll be using some other poses to get into some deeper aspects of the shoulders. So we'll be on our prone position, on our tummy, for a little while. So the Sphinx pose is a pose that targets the lumbar spine. It's an area that is vulnerable in our body. It's an area that I often find students would come to the studio with that as an area that they need to support, that they need to be aware of. It's vulnerable because it's not as supported, such as the thoracic section where we're got the rib cage as this beautiful framework that gives the incredibly important organs that are supported inside the ribs a housing, but also creates a lot of structure around that portion of the spine. And then the sacrum and the way the pelvis hugs as well into a beautiful big bowl means that that's an area that generally tends to not have as many vulnerabilities. But that lumbar spine area, and believe it or not, the lumbar spine is very much connected to our core. And we often just think of our core as that sheet of muscles, the rectus abdominis, the six-pack, right? But of course the core is made up of a variety of musculature and the transverse abdominis, which wrap around from the lower back all the way across the front of the tummy and back to the opposite side of the spine, almost like a tube hugging around. And these are the deeper layers of the abdominal muscles that tend to be less toned, trying to find the words there, less strengthened, less, we avoid what we don't like. A lot of people don't like core work because it challenges them, because it might even tweak a little bit of sensitivity in the lumbar spine. But that obviously, I'm not asking you to injure yourself, but I'm suggesting that when that little tweaking's coming, it could be illustrating, hang on, I do need to do a little bit more work here. I need to be sensitive, I need to be sensible, but I also need to start to find activities that can help engage, strengthen those muscles. There's also the lats, there's the psoas muscles, the rectus abdominis, the muscles of the abdomen that cross the body like seat belts that help us rotate the torso across the front of the body. So, the core area is very dynamic, very strong, but the lumbar spine, it is possible to have deep tissue pain there as a result of so many different aspects of our modern life. Being a little overweight, being a little too sedentary, having unhydrated tissues, so dehydration of the body and of the tissues is very common. Lack of activity, avoidance of certain types of things that, they're difficult. Core work can be difficult. All right, enough of me rambling on. We're going to head into a shoulder pose. So, look, it is available for me to find something we call seal, where we find a deeper back bend. And what that's allowing me to do is preparing for our prone shoulder stretch. So with my right arm, I'll slide it in and under that cavity created under the left arm and slide it through to the left. So the right arm went in and under to the left. And variation 1 would be to simply start to find when the engagement occurs in the shoulder by lowering the torso and the weight of the head down and over that crossed under arm. For me as well, I've tucked the toes at the back of the mat and I just start to shift more of my body weight forward so that I drop weight onto that arm and maybe even be able to find lowering down the head towards the earth. If you can't find the head on the earth, your left hand is available there because you haven't done anything with it yet. You could fist the hand and allow your forehead just to rest on that combination. So one arm variations, or generally anything we do in halves in Yin Yoga, is less intense. Here, I'm offering you this less intense variation, but if you think you've got more intensity available, you can allow the left arm to reach through to the right. So both arms are crossed under your body, and you start to lower the weight of the torso down and forward over the crossed arms. So that would be the double variation. And again, I need to tuck my toes behind me and shift more weight forward. Now, the other thing here is I start to notice it's a shortening of my breath because the lungs are being compressed, the ribs are compressed. There's muscles of the respiratory system that are being compressed. My throat is compressed as I tuck the chin in. So whether you've got the single or double arm variation, we don't hold this one as long, so we've only got another 10 or so breaths. If you're in your double arm variation like me, we might just start to slowly peel the torso away from the arms and slide the left arm out, where we'll meet all our friends that had that single arm variation. Now, apologize for rolling away from you so my back faces you, but all I need you to do here is to roll more onto the right rib cage, because it was the right arm that was underneath us. And what I'd like you to do is just bend the knees to give yourself some support and stack the knees and the ankles on top of each other. Slide the right arm out underneath the head so you lower the head down onto the arm. And so it's almost like we're back as a teenager and we're just sort of, lying on the floor, maybe even watching TV. So we're on our right ribs. Our head is resting on our right arm. It's with our right ear connected to the upper arm. And we're looking to the left. And the knees are bent. And you're super supported down the back side of the body. So here we're getting an expansion across the ribs. We're getting some compression in the right arm and the shoulder joints. So just be mindful of how much compression you provide there. And now we can extend the left arm straight up to the ceiling. So it's the arm at the above the body. And we start to point the index finger to the ceiling and we start to draw circles. And I'd like you to draw very small circles at the start. It starts to get bigger. It starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger until it starts to create a circle that's sort of almost coming all the way parallel down with the earth as it creates its largest sort of rotation around. And what I'd like you to do is the next time the arm sweeps around until it's over the head, allow that arm then just to drape and dangle over the head. So the left arm kind of just sort of creates this bend over the head, and if it's even possible, you might even find your hands have come to touch. And now you'll notice that lovely expansion along the left ribs. And so all of the intercostal muscles along the rib cage that help expand the chest with the breath and allow your breath to feel so effortless, getting a beautiful big stretch. And there's a degree of compression in the underside ribs, and so compression is really valuable in our Yin Yoga practice. Compression allows for a momentary blockage of fluids, a momentary blockage of prana, of energy, and then the eventual release of the posture or the pose allows for that maintenance, that momentum to flow back in, the fresh fluids, the refreshments. And then just notice here if you're gathering any tension, perhaps in the hips or the lower back. Just give yourself a moment just to ease into any parts of the body there. And then from here, support yourself by taking the left hand up and just maybe finding just some more circles back in the sky. And then lowering that left hand down in front of your face onto the earth so you can use the support of the hand to roll back off your props And from here, let's find a child's pose. So just maneuvering your way. Keep the props where they are, knees open wide, big toes come to touch. And this time the child's pose is going to be with the support of the bolsters and the combination of support you have out in front of you. So I'm going to take my forearms down onto the support and lower my forehead down between my arms. This is a really nice little rebound here. In my welcome video, I mentioned how the location that I live in Australia is prone to quite dramatic weather and temperature extremes. So I think the last time I filmed the yin class for this program, it was very hot and I had a fan on in my little studio, and that fan, without me noticing it, had encouraged one of the candles to go a little rogue, and in that process it burnt through the side of its cavity and started to drip wax everywhere. And halfway through one of the postures, I was like rolling in a certain direction, put my hand out, and got all this boiling hot wax on my hand and all these different distractions actually in that particular sequence. And it was so hot, and yin's normally not done in really hot weather, and rah rah rah. And then today, it's early in the morning. I think it's about the 8th or 9th of January. I can't remember which one. 8th, I think. So all of these classes I am filming for this program, they are all new. But it's actually really cold, and I live and care for my elderly mother, and she's actually got the heater on. So that's how much of a change we can experience here in our part of the world. I think it feels colder because it's been so warm. I don't actually think it's that cold, but anyway. It's beautiful weather for yin, put it that way. All right, lovely work, everybody. Let's just start to make our way up. And I'm going to encourage us to come to all fours now. And in our all fours position, tabletop, let's just take some natural spinal movements known as cow and cat. There's no particular reference for the breath here in our Yin Yoga practice. I'm just encouraging you to move in a way that allows the momentum to move along the spine, to generate fresh flow of fluids, and generate areas of energy, of spaciousness. If that encourages you to create shapes that feel a little different and unusual, maybe even changing the orientation of your hands, rolling through the neck, the shoulders, you do you. And then we'll continue on with our journey. So we'll want to balance out the sides. So I'm going to start to lower down onto my tummy again and see if I can find the location of those lower ribs. Should be a little easier this time. And so from our Sphinx, we won't hold the Sphinx as long now, so we are prepared for our prone shoulder stretch. So let's come up a little, sliding the right arm further forward so that the left arm is free to slide in and under that space of the right arm. And so there's your single arm variation. You've got your right arm forward, left arm underneath, and you want to tuck your toes and bring some weight forward. For those of you that felt really spacious and you want to try that same combination with both arms, we'll cross the right arm over to the left. So it's just changing the first arm into the weight of the compression created by the torso. So we're just balancing it all out. Say the last 10 breaths here. For those of you that took the double arm variation, let's meet all our friends with the single arm so that the right arm is extended out in front of us. And again, it's simply rolling onto that left rib cage. The left arm is underneath us. Doing so mindfully. I've got to get the microphone pack out of the way. By creating the bent knees and hugging them in towards you, more stable in the lower body. So you can slide the left arm out and lower the left ear down. And then there's that arch, that hinge over your pillowy combination underneath you. It'll be the right arm this time that goes up to the sky and it draws those circles. And that circle gets so big and almost so parallel with the earth that it sweeps around and it says, that's the last time I'm ready to drape over the head. And There's a lot of benefits to the compression of the underside torso with the lymph there, and just that process of freshening up the fluid flow by creating a momentary blockage, and knowing that soon we will once again allow all of that to be rehydrated. But hopefully in the process you could sort of visualize how there's just little channels that get a little clogged, a little blocked perhaps, and this compression is helping to squeeze out that blockage, but then wait for the return of the flow of the fluids to allow those to be swept away. For me, I feel much more spacious on this side because the right lung is bigger thanks to the fact that the left has more objects in the way, particularly the very important heart. So because it's the elevated side of my chest now, I just get this really deep sense of bigger, more voluminous breath. I also notice that the sensitivity and the sensation that's been created on my left side is deeper and more profound than what was on my right, thanks to the fact that, my left arm and shoulder and rotator cuff and all of the muscles around the joint are stickier, are clunkier. They're louder too. I don't know whether you notice as well that airiness in the joints with the vata and that sense of like clicking noise sometimes. Just the last few moments here. Then that right arm gets re-extended to the ceiling. We just take a few little circles. And then lowering the right hand down in front of your head so that you can roll back onto your chest and press back up. Coming into a tabletop position. So previously I had you in a position we knew as child's pose, so the hips were back towards the heels and the arms were here. If that felt enough for you and you want to stay there, continue to find this shape. If not, tabletop position, we'll take ourselves into our puppy pose. And so for me, I just find that the alignment is difficult to explain, so rather probably easier to watch. So I take my toes back to the edge of the mat behind me, and I start to lower down under my forearms. But notice how my hips are over my knees. They're not back towards the heels. And then I start to find the elbows on my little supportive cushioning, and I start to lower the head down. I hope it just slides down so the forehead can rest on the mat, creating a prayer-like position with the palms, and then drawing the thumbs to the back of the head. A beautiful, beautiful tricep stretch. Also the lats and the big muscle, you often feel under your armpit, the tendon leading up into the arm, shoulder, from the lats. The lats across the back of the torso as well. Big sheet of muscle. Again, little. In fact, often when you've done something to the lats, because it can really radiate and make it difficult to breathe. Just welcome the breath in as a natural, organic pace. The universe is really looking after it. You're not even thinking about it. Puppy can also be known as melting heart because the expression here is that the chest, guided by the heart, is compressing towards the earth. And as we start to lift ourselves up, if you're in the child's pose variation, you just also make your way upright. So we're going to take a moment here just to set up our blanket again. For the moment, I'm going to keep one block up there and place the other block out of the way. I'm going to unroll my blanket, and it was actually now in a rectangular kind of square shape. I'm going to place it down across the top of my mat. And the first side I'm going to be rolling facing away from you, but you should be able to see it easily. It's called broken wing, and it's designed to stretch across the front of the shoulders. So come down onto your tummy. The block is there to help support the head. I'd like you to rotate the head to look to the left and extend the right arm out like a T shape from the body. So if you're not sure what I'm saying, have a look at the setup. So I'm looking to the left, and it's my right arm that's extended out underneath me and away behind me. My left hand helps support me to roll onto my right hip, and then immediately start to bend the knees so you stack the knees on top of each other. So with the knees bent and drawn in towards your chest, there's more support there. That's a lovely variation to stay here. Your left hand could stay in front of your chest as a support, and the right ear, the right side of your face, rests down onto your block or a pillow. Some of you might not even need it. I'm using this just to help anyone that does need some support with their props. Variations, of course, include the left hand, the free arm, going up to the ceiling, flipping the palm to face the wall behind you, bending the elbow, sliding the hand past the sacrum, and landing it on the lower back. I bring some awareness to the palm of my right hand, the arm that I extended out behind me on the floor, and I press it down. Not the longest hold here. There's a lot of instructions. I apologize for that. And whether I'm in person or whether we're online, either way, it can be complicated. So don't worry if you're all muddled up. You do have the benefit of being able to rewind and recheck. So please do that. So we'll prepare now to come out by lowering the left hand back in front of our chest, extending the legs out and rolling back onto our tummies. And let's take ourselves back into our all fours position. A little bit of cow and cat there. And then once more, coming back down onto our stomachs. Just going to have to adjust the microphone momentarily out from underneath my left hip. Extend the left arm out to the left. Look to the right. Roll onto the left hip. Bend the knees. Give yourself support in the lower body. Left ear rests down. Left arm is extended out along the mat behind you like a T shape. Right arm is free here to lift up. Take variations like lowering it down onto the lumbar spine of the back body. And as you start to return the right hand back in front of your chest, maneuver so that you can come back onto the tummies, pressing back into tabletop. So once you've made your way into your comfortable seat, how about we just take a few shoulder rolls and maybe neck circle rolls or something that feels super nice to you. As I explain this final part of the class, I don't offer a Shavasana because I find it very difficult to hold your attention and know that I've got 5 minutes or so before I say farewell and whether that's going to be something you'll do. So I'd rather you do that in your own time, and I encourage that to be 10 or 15 minutes if you want. We'll end this class with a Kriya, and Jupiter is this huge planet in our solar system. It is magnetic. It attracts all of the waste products from the solar system rather than them impacting us. It is our great support mechanism. It is our friend in the sky, correct? And governing that world and being connected with it is the elephant-headed deity we know as Ganesha or Ganapati, and Ganapati is the lord of the groups, and he is the one that helps Shiva along his journey. Now, all of that's put to one side. Why am I bringing this into this particular practice? Well, it has a lot to do with our shoulders because it is quite intense in the shoulders, and we've just activated them. And it's encouraging us to look at Ganesha, to look at Ganapati, and understand that he is the remover of obstacles along our path. And our path, our sankalpa, our sadhana is here for us to see. And we know we will place obstacles in our own way. We'll get up one day and we'll be too tired to bother practicing, or we'll lose interest. All of these things are completely normal. But instead of just saying giving up, I encourage you to evoke Ganapati, evoke his ability to remove those obstacles and allow us to move in the direction of more and maintain our momentum. It is a weird and different Kriya, and you will probably be challenged by it from the point of view of the mantra, from the point of view of it being completely different and perhaps brand new for some of you. But nonetheless, let's give it a go. It'll be 3 to 5 minutes, I think. The other thing that it'll bring is abundance. So if you want to tune into some positive energy to bring some stuff in towards your universe, your aura, I encourage you to really drop in here. Transcend what feels weird, transcend what feels different, and accept change. Extend the left arm out in front of you with the palm facing the ceiling, and take the right arm up with the index finger pointing to the ceiling. The mantra sounds like this. Haum. 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 And the movement of the arms is small circles with the left hand in a clockwise position, and a rotation of the torso and of the right arm in whatever way feels normal. I'm just going to itch my face there. And so we just start with this deeply meditative, deeply transcending Kriya that includes quite an unusual mantra. And I encourage you to close down your eyes now and just drop in, and I'll come and get you in about a few minutes. So big breath in. Haum. 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 continue with the mantra and stick with the arms, the intensity in the shoulders, the sensitivity. This too shall pass. Stick with me for a few more minutes. How. 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 Last three. How. 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 Lowering the hands down onto your knees. Just be receptive. And take your hands into Kamala Mudra at the heart space, Lotus Mudra. And our beautiful little sapling now that has germinated from our seed of intention is growing in such abundance. The warmth of the sun, the water that's nurtured its growth, the earth that has sustained it, sustenance, preservation, expansion, the wind that has allowed for the messages to carry through it and to it, and the transfer and exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen, and then finally the expansion of the overall plant has taken up space. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. Draw your chin towards your chest and find that beautiful seed of intention, the germinated sapling that now lifts up and takes with it that beautiful momentum as we maintain our second week of our program together, stronger, capable, persevering. The qualities we want to embody so that we can navigate the world with integrity and wisdom. The wisdom that was encoded within that tiny germinated seed to grow into a majestic plant. It was all there, all along, just like us. But it's the dust of life that settles upon the lens that clouds our judgment, experiences, past past traumas, past limiting beliefs that come up. Well, Ganapati was there to remove those. And the past is a place we often dwell, and the future is often a place that we hypothesize about, but the actual moment is right now. So anchor into that with these final few moments, final few breaths. And then as you bring your palms to touch in a prayer position, bow inwards towards yourself and thank yourself for showing up, for practicing, for continuing the effort. Well done. Namaste and have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you again real soon. Bye for now.